good evening, and welcome. Tonight we're going to be reading this magazine. It's called 100 Places That Will Change Your Life. So let's just dive right in. Gorgeous. So these are sorted into mind, body, spirit, and soul. Of course, it's best to take precautions while you travel. There's a map, but we're not going to spoil it. Let's start right off with the mind section. Our first place tonight is Chefu, China, can train in Kung Fu. The archetypal martial art of China, Shaolin Kung Fu, was developed by monks in the 5th century in Henan province. It's one of the most difficult martial arts to master. Shaolin monks frequently begin training at 8 years old, practicing for hours daily. But it's never too late to start. The Chefu Shaolin Kung Fu School in Ximen Forest National Park takes students of all skill levels. Spend a couple of weeks learning fundamental moves or many years studying theory and advanced forms. And next, we have Oaxaca, Mexico. Learn to cook Oaxacan specialties. Recognized by UNESCO on its list of intangible cultural heritage, Mexican cuisine is deeply rooted in tradition. From farming methods to singular utensils to native dishes, and nowhere is this connection stronger than in Oaxaca. Learn how to spin endemic ingredients such as pasilla chiles, chocolate, epazote, grasshoppers, and huitlacoche, or corn fungus, into Oaxacan moles, tamales, and other specialties at one of the region's many cooking schools. Those fresh frijoles. Next, I'm going to check out number 3, the Loire Valley in France. Delight in magnificent chateau. From the grandiose Chambord, with its 426 rooms, 282 fireplaces, and double helix staircase possibly designed by Leonardo da Vinci, to Chenonceau, the 16th century castle that spans the Cher River. Exploring the chateau of the Loire Valley is a crash course in the French Renaissance, when the royal and rich stopped at nothing to one-up each other. To wit, the exquisite garden of Chateau de Villandry, with its geometric patterns and broad avenues, terraces, statues, clipped hedges, and fountains that define the French formal garden. You can see right there. Next we have number 4, Jerusalem. Study religious history. The epicenter of 3 faiths, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. The old city of Jerusalem is a feast for students of religion, from the just curious to full-on scholars. Within its ancient walls are the Dome of the Rock, from which Muslims believe the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven, the Western Wall, the holiest place Jews can pray, and the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which contains what Christians believe is the tomb of Jesus. And that's just for starters. A guided tour can help make sense of it all. Some mini ones. Number 5 is birdwatch in Costa Rica. See these pretties. From the great green macaw in the Caribbean lowlands to the resplendent quetzal in the highlands, the land of Pura Vida will jumpstart your bird life list. Number 6, go to the Hay Festival in Wales. Join poets, novelists, scientists, environmentalists, and other big thinkers near the heather-covered mountains of Wales's Brecon Beacons National Park, for what former President Bill Clinton called the Woodstock of the mind. Number 7, master boat building in Maine. If the lines of a classic wooden boat send you swooning, head to the Wooden Boat School in Brooklyn, Maine, for lessons on how to build the beauties from woodworking to design. Number 8, paddle the Lewis and Clark route in Missouri, or at least starting in Missouri. Kayak or canoe in the path of Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, who set off on a 55-foot keelboat on the Missouri River in 1804 to forge a trade route to the Pacific at the behest of President Thomas Jefferson. Number 9, learn fly fishing in Tasmania. Along with wombats and wallabies, Australia's beguiling island state is also home to wily brown trout, which challenge anglers in crystal clear streams and remote tarns in one of the world's most pristine fisheries. Number 10, make coffee from field to cup in Colombia. Deepen your appreciation for your morning brew at a coffee farm in western Colombia's Eje Cafetero region, known as the coffee growing axis. Help pick and process the beans, then prepare a perfect cup. And number 11, go to space camp for grown-ups in Alabama. Ever dream of being an astronaut? Build and launch a model rocket and run the simulators at the 3-day Adult Space Academy at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. That sounds fun. Number 12 is Death Valley, California. Have a close encounter with fossils. There's nothing like walking in the footsteps of prehistoric elephants to put things in perspective. Mastodon-like creatures roamed Death Valley before the Sierra Nevada formed and cast a rain shadow on the landscape, transforming it into the harsh environment we know today. A lucky few can examine the beasts' fossilized tracks up close in the paleontological area of Death Valley National Park. Normally closed to the public, this fragile zone is opened for ranger-led hikes a few times a year. Learn how animals like camels, birds, and horses lived here thousands of years ago. Number 13 is Jamaica. Meet the Maroons. Deep in Jamaica's mountainous interior live the Maroons, the descendants of enslaved Africans who escaped and fought for their freedom from the British in the 18th century. The Maroon people established self-governing villages and became known for their fortitude, independence, and ingenuity. From ritual drumming to the medicinal use of plants to fiery jerk cooking, they have deeply influenced Jamaica's heritage. Today, the remaining Maroon villages welcome visitors to learn about their culture through drumming classes, craft workshops, and talks on local herbs. There's one of the vacation villas you can stay in. Amazing. Speaking of amazing, number 14 is in Norway. Discover the Aurora Borealis. Seeing the northern lights can fill even the most jaded grown-up with childlike wonder. But aurora hunting is tricky business. The higher the latitude, the better. Norway's Lofoten Islands are ideal. And clear skies are a must. Hedge your bets by chasing the phenomenon on one of Hurtigrutens ships, which ply the coastlines of Norway. The line's astronomy voyage features lectures on the aurora, a visit to the Northern Lights Planetarium in Tromsø, and a pledge that the lights will make an appearance or you'll receive a free voyage. Awesome. That's like a win-win, isn't it? Number 15 is Ellis Island, New York. Uncover your family history. Are you one of the more than 100 million Americans who can trace their ancestry to an immigrant who entered the U.S. through the port of New York on Ellis Island? You can find your family's story at the Ellis Island Immigration Museum. Search for relatives' names in the database of more than 50 million passenger records. You'll learn their date of arrival, their age at the time, and the name of the ship that brought them here. then retrace their journey with an audio or ranger-led tour of the museum that puts you in the shoes of an arriving immigrant. There's Ellis Island today, right by the Statue of Liberty. Number 16 is beautiful Florence, Italy. Live and breathe art. There's the back of the Duomo. With its terracotta roofs, graceful Duomo, and cypress-dotted hills bathed in golden light, Florence has cast a spell over artists for centuries. Whether you'd like to better appreciate their masterpieces or have artistic ambitions of your own, there's a course in this city for you. From a half-day introduction on how the Renaissance took root, featuring a tour of works by Michelangelo, Brunelleschi, and others, to a 5-day figure drawing class or a year of intense fashion design instruction. Wow. For 17 is Cape Town, South Africa, which you can see Table Mountain right there. Follow the path of Mandela. Trace the life of Nelson Mandela in Cape Town during his drive to end apartheid, from recruiter for the armed resistance in the township of Nyanga to City Hall, where he addressed the public after his release from prison in 1990. Nowhere is Mandela's legacy felt more strongly than in a visit to Robben Island Museum, the one-time prison where he spent 18 of his 27 years of incarceration. With the floor for a bed and a bucket for a toilet, his small cell is a stark reminder of the brutality of apartheid and the triumph of the human spirit. Instead of breaking him, the experience transformed Mandela from revolutionary to revered statesman. And there's his cell right here. My goodness. Number 18 is Mendoza, Argentina. Dive into winemaking 101. Unfurling east from the foothills of the Central Andes, the Mendoza region is often called the next Napa Valley. It's a magnet for wannabe enologists. Only here, the purple-black grape Malbec is king. The Vines of Mendoza, a cooperative in the Uco Valley, invites DIYers to try barrel tasting and blending wines to create their own varietal in hands-on workshops. They'll even sell you some acreage to grow grapes, taking care of as many or as few details as you'd like for your very own label. Amazing, look at that. Some more tiny ones here. Number 19, explore the Roman Forum in Italy, which is right here. You could wander the Forum on your own, but a guided in-depth tour of these ruins, once the political, social, and commercial heart of Rome, illuminates the inner workings of the empire, as well as the daily lives of citizens and emperors. Number 20, craft spirits in Louisville, Kentucky. Bourbon, rum, absinthe, name your poison, and the master distillers at Moonshine University in Louisville will school you in how to coax it out of corn, molasses, or wormwood. For 21, fly a hawk in Ireland. Walk the woodlands around County Mayo's Ashford Castle as you discover the ancient art of falconry and fly your own hawk at Ireland's School of Falconry. Number 22, encounter Holocaust history at Auschwitz in Poland. Synonymous with terror and genocide, the complex of extermination camps built by Nazis known as Auschwitz, near the Polish city of Auschwitz, saw the deaths of more than 1 million people during World War II. Number 23, write that novel in North Carolina. Unplug at a writer's retreat or workshop in North Carolina's Blue Ridge Mountains. Get some feedback on your nonfiction, polish your poems, or make headway on that novel. Number 24, study Ayurvedic healing in Kerala, India. Learn the soothing techniques of Ayurveda, the holistic medical system that has been practiced in India for more than 5,000 years. And number 25, blend your own whiskey in Scotland. Enjoy a wee dram of whiskey. Learn the tipple's finer points at Glengoyne Distillery outside Glasgow. After sampling cask whiskies, you'll create your own single malt and bring home the results in a 200 milliliter bottle. Number 26, we're on to the body section, obviously, after number 25. It's divided into 4 chapters, that's just math. On to the body section. Number 26 is Antarctica, ski to the South Pole. Physically punishing and bitterly cold, not to mention wildly expensive, skiing to the South Pole isn't for tenderfoots. After a charter hop across the Drake Passage to base camp, you'll set out on skis from the Antarctic coast and cross the polar plateau, covering some 700 miles in 2 months. Spend 8 to 10 hours a day trekking through the austere landscape, marked by wave-like patterns in the snow and the tops of mountains poking through the snowpack. Number 27, they're having fun there. It's the Grand Canyon in Arizona. Brave the Colorado. Don't see the Grand Canyon, live it, is how one commercial outfitter describes its trip along the Colorado River. In fact, there's no better way to savor this wonder of Earth. From the rims, the canyon seems oceanic. At the surface of the river, the feeling is intimate, wrote the late environmental author Barry Lopez. Marvel at the mile-high chasm of ancient rock from your perch on the ribbon of water that flows through it. Go for as few as 5 days or as many as 18 for the 280 miles from Lee's Ferry to Lake Mead, Arizona, complete with 47 major rapids. Number 28, very sweet. Lapland in Sweden, drive a team of huskies. Forget snowmobiles. The most exhilarating way to experience the vast snowy wilderness of remote Swedish Lapland is behind a team of charging huskies. Mushing brings you close to wildlife such as moose and lynx, and the nomadic Sami people herding reindeer as they have for centuries. Unwind at the end of the day as the locals do, with a sauna, and as you feed the dogs their dinner, keep an eye out for the aurora borealis. There they go. Number 29 is in Peru. Hike the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. It's one of my life dreams to do. While most visitors take the train to Machu Picchu, the terraced Inca citadel built into the eastern slope of the Peruvian Andes at almost 8,000 feet above sea level. The 4-day trek up the Inca Trail will likely make the trip more memorable. The 26-mile route is strenuous, the air is thin, and nights are cold, but the reward is hard to beat. A view of the ancient city rising out of the mist at sunrise. Number 30 is trek the Atlas Mountains in Morocco. You can see here. Stretching from the Atlantic to the Sahara, the Atlas Mountains are the backbone of Morocco, harboring remote Berber villages, desert oases, and terraced valleys. Number 31, heli ski in British Columbia, Canada. Here, my goodness. Wow, few things are as thrilling as getting a lift via chopper high up in Canada's Columbia Mountains, only to shuss through virgin powder all the way down the mountainside. Number 32, go underground in Wind Cave National Park in South Dakota. Strap on a hard hat and knee pads for a guided crawl through Wind Cave, one of the world's longest, distinguished by honeycomb-like boxwork formations and strong winds that rush in and out of its mouth. Number 33, walk the England Coast Path, the world's longest seafront walking trail, stretching nearly 2,800 miles around the entire coast of England, wind through hidden coves, windswept bluffs, and welcoming port towns. For 34, raft the New River Gorge in West Virginia. From wavy ripples to big white water, rafting the longest and deepest river gorge in the Appalachians, now a national park, is like a roller coaster ride through deep sandstone cliffs. Number 35, Golf Scotland's great courses. Brave the elements to tee off at the Old Course at St. Andrews, Royal Dornoch in the Highlands, and other top courses in the birthplace of golf. Number 36, hike to Cidade Perdida in Colombia. Discovered by treasure hunters in the 1970s, the pre-Inca lost city is reached by a 12-mile muddy slog, much of it uphill. Your reward, extraordinary ruins of homes, bridges, and farming terraces. Number 37 is the White Mountains in New Hampshire. Climb a frozen waterfall. Riddled with waterfalls, New England's rugged White Mountains are an ice-climbing mecca come winter, drawing adventure junkies from near and far to get vertical on its most popular routes, such as Frankenstein Cliff, requiring a combination of strength, agility, endurance, and nerves of steel, not to mention the grit to withstand freezing temps for hours on end. Ice climbing isn't for everyone. But with proper instruction and the right equipment, novices will be scaling this frozen wonderland in a matter of days. For 38, the Sossus Fly, Namibia. Climb Big Daddy. Waves of towering rust-red sand dunes beckon climbers in the remote Sossus Fly area of Namib Naukluft Park, situated in one of the oldest deserts on Earth. The star is Big Daddy, which at more than 1,000 feet high takes about 2 hours to summit. Drink in the starkly beautiful landscape known as Dead Fly or Dead Marsh, with its scorched camel thorn trees, before making a running break for the bottom. Ooh, number 39 in Queensland, Australia. Dive the Great Barrier Reef. A maze of some 3,000 reefs, 600 islands, and 300 coral keys. The Great Barrier Reef off the northeastern coast of Australia is the only living structure visible from outer space. Divers here are spoiled for choice. The marine park teems with more than 1,600 species of tropical fish, from massive groupers to colorful clown anemone fish, and has many notable shipwrecks, including the famous SS Yongal. The reef faces dire threats due to climate change, however. Warming waters and increased ocean acidification have bleached half of the coral cover. Visitors can help support coral growth through the Coral Nurture Program and the Reef Restoration Foundation. Number 40 is Istanbul, Turkey. Take a Turkish bath. Borrowed from the Romans, the hammam promoted hygiene and served as a meeting place before modern plumbing. Today, dozens of these historic bathhouses are still in operation throughout Istanbul. Bathers proceed through rooms of varying temperatures and humidity, the highlight of which is the marble washing area where an attendant, a talak for men or natir for women, scrubs you with the kese, an exfoliating mitt, leaving you invigorated and cleaner than you've ever been. There's the blue mosque there. Ooh, number 41 in the eastern U.S., hike the Appalachian Trail. Spend 6 months hiking 2,185 miles along the peaks and valleys of the Appalachian mountain range between Springer Mountain, Georgia, and Mount Katahdin, Maine, and your life is bound to change. The Japanese have a term, Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, that refers to the health benefits of spending time in the woods. Indeed, many Appalachian Trail thru hikers report a shift for the better, claiming to have more self-confidence, patience, and clarity for starters. Number 42, very iconic, immediately recognizable, the Great Wall of China. Step back in time. Stretching over 4,500 miles from Shanhaiguan, east of Beijing, to the Gobi Desert, the Great Wall covers roughly the same distance as that from Dublin to Abu Dhabi. That puts it into perspective, my goodness. The fortress, made of stone, wood, and earth, was started in the 5th century BCE. A hike along one of its sections is like traveling back in time, offering a rare glimpse of rural China and the ancient pace from which this society has evolved. Wow. Gonna go. Wow. Oop. The Blue Lagoon in Iceland, number 43. Accidentally formed in 1976 by the wastewater of a geothermal power plant, the Blue Lagoon has come to be synonymous with Iceland. Some believe the silica and sulfur-rich geothermal water, a mixture of fresh and salt water from 6,500 feet below Earth's surface, has healing properties for those who suffer from skin diseases like psoriasis. Regardless, bathing in the massive milky blue pool in the eerily beautiful volcanic landscape is an unforgettable experience. I didn't know it was formed by accident. Isn't that interesting? What a happy accident. Some mini ones here. As we can see in this picture, you can climb a Via Ferrata route in the Dolomites in Italy. Steel cables, ladders, and other equipment were affixed to the rock walls of these mountains to assist soldiers in World War I. Today, non-climbers use them to experience the breathtaking beauty of the Dolomites. Number 45, summit, Mount Fuji, Japan. Mount Fuji is sacred to both Buddhists and Shintoists. Pilgrims and tourists alike climb the world's most iconic volcano overnight to watch the sun rise over Tokyo, shouting, "Banzai! Banzai! Banzai!" to cheer the golden moment. 46. The Dark Sky Rock Climb in Alberta, Canada. Take crags of limestone and quartzite, waterfall ice, and alpine rock routes. At perfectly dark skies at night, and you've got the ideal conditions for rock climbing and rappelling under the stars. 47. Take the waters in Baden-Baden, Germany. Immerse yourself in the mineral-rich springs, first tapped by the Romans in the year 69 for their healing powers, that bubble up from some 6,500 feet below this black forest town. Number 48, bike the ring road in Iceland. Volcanoes, lava fields, dramatic sea cliffs, and cobalt-tinged icebergs are the backdrop for a spin on Route 1, the 832-mile road that rings the island. Number 49, follow the Santa Fe Trail from Missouri to New Mexico. Ruts from wood and wagon wheels still mark this historic trail, also known as the Great Prairie Highway. It spanned 900 miles through Comanche and Apache lands and was traversed by Mexican traders and westward drawn pioneers. And number 50, climb Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. The tallest freestanding mountain in the world, Kilimanjaro has been the inspiration for countless myths and legends. Truth is, the roof of Africa is the most accessible of the 7 summits to climb. On to the spirit section, here among the baobabs. Number 51 is in Botswana. Marvel at the Makati Pans. The remains of an immense lake that evaporated millions of years ago, the Makati Pans are now a sprawling, desiccated landscape of salt and nothingness, save for the occasional baobab tree. Adventurous souls come to the 6,000 square mile corner of the Kalahari to feed their sense of awe. Learn about the heritage of the San Bushmen, some of the last hunter-gatherers in Africa. Spot meerkats and brown hyenas, and see the massive zebra migration during the wet season in winter. Number 52. In Nepal, hike the Annapurna Circuit. Opened to foreigners in 1977, the 128-mile Annapurna Circuit in central Nepal has become a classic for its spectacular scenery. Think prayer flags, tea houses, Hindu temples, Buddhist monasteries, rhododendron forests, and hot springs against a backdrop of some of the highest mountains in the world, including Annapurna and Dhaulagiri. The highlight of the grueling trek is traversing the 17,769-foot Torungla Pass, an ancient trade route once used to transport goods on yaks and donkeys. That sounds incredible. Do you know where we're going? Do you know where this is? It is in Greece. Number 53, climb to the monasteries of Mediora. Perched on massive sandstone pillars that rise some 1,200 feet above the Peneus Valley, Peneus Valley, the Eastern Orthodox monasteries of Mediora, from a Greek contraction meaning suspended in air, were built by hermit monks between the 14th and 16th centuries to ensure a life of solitude and safety. 6 of the original 24 eyries remain intact and are accessible to pilgrims and the public via steps carved into the rocks in the 1920s. The Badlands in South Dakota, number 54. Over the past 500,000 years, erosion has sculpted sediment deposited by the ancient sea that once stretched across the Great Plains into buttes, spires, and pinnacle formations, leaving us the Badlands, named by the Lakota for its unwelcoming terrain that they believed was riddled with the remains of a mythological horned serpent. The striking landscape inspires awe among visitors today, especially during the magic hours of sunrise and sunset and under a full moon. Number 55, you can see right here. Gorgeous. Marvel at Croatia's Plitvice Lakes. J.R. Tolkien couldn't have conjured a more fantastical natural wonderland than this forested valley of vibrant cascading lakes linked by waterfalls and natural dams. Number 56, see the sunset in Isla del Sol, Bolivia. Watch the sun sink beyond Lake Titicaca and the snow-covered Andes from the lighthouse on Isla del Sol, believed by the Inca to be the home of their sun god. Number 57, explore the temples of Angkor Wat, Cambodia. Famous for its scores of intricately carved temples built between the 9th and 15th centuries and sophisticated hydraulic engineering, the ruins of the capital of the Khmer Empire sprawl across 400 miles of Siem Reap province. Number 58, drink in Lourdes, France. Roman Catholics pilgrimage to this town at the foot of the Pyrenees to drink or bathe from the grotto spring, believed to have healing powers after a girl reported seeing the Virgin Mary there in 1858. Number 59, do a South Korean temple stay. Chant, meditate, converse over tea, and perhaps find your true self while experiencing the life of Korean Buddhists at centuries-old traditional temples. Number 60, feel the magic of Milford Sound in New Zealand. Carved by a deity's magic adze into the west coast of the South Island, or so says Maori legend. This 12-mile-long fjord boasts waterfalls, rainforests, whales, penguins, dolphins, and wispy cloud-crowned peaks. And number 61, see the Ohrid icons of North Macedonia. Lake Ohrid today is known for its beaches and water sports, but devotees have journeyed to its shores for centuries to see the Orthodox churches and more than 800 Byzantine-style icons. Let's see what's next. Ooh. Number 62 is in Shikoku, Japan. Perform a Buddhist pilgrimage. Retrace the footsteps of 9th century monk Kobodaishi to 88 Buddhist temples around mountain-ringed Shikoku, the smallest and least visited of Japan's 4 main islands. The 745-mile circuit traverses hilly countryside, rustic coastline, and deserted beaches. True pilgrims known as O-Henro-san trek the entire walk of life, which can take up to 50 days. Others hop on the bus and train for the steep sections, like a jaunt up to Mount Koya, where you can find Kobodaishi's tomb. Number 63 is in New Caledonia, sweet turtle. Encounter a magnificent marine reserve. Humpback whales, green sea turtles, and dugongs congregate in the welcoming waters around the islands of New Caledonia, a French territory some 900 miles off the east coast of Australia. Inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2008, New Caledonia's lagoons represent one of the most extensive reef systems in the world, with pristine waters and more than 9,000 marine species. In 2014, the government created the 500,000 square mile natural park of the Coral Sea, the world's second largest marine sanctuary, to further protect this astounding habitat. Number 64. Watching the sunrise in Teotihuacan in Mexico. Celebrate the spring equinox. Join the multitudes that gather atop the Pyramid of the Sun in the pre-dawn hours of the spring equinox to chant, sing, and pray in welcome of the sun as it rises over the Sierra Madre. The orientation of the 2,000-year-old pyramid, which rises 20 stories above the ruins of Teotihuacan, was determined by the position of the sun at its zenith. Some come to this mystical celebration to honor the ancient gods, others to connect to their history and family. Number 65 we need. Oh, how lovely. It's in Vietnam. Wander the spice forests. Look at that. Smoky, fruity black cardamom is an essential ingredient of pho, Vietnam's distinctive noodle soup. The spice, known locally as, tau qua, no accents, grows along stream beds in the wooded highlands of Hoang Linh National Park in northern Vietnam. Traditional villages dot the valleys around the park, home to ethnic minorities who harvest and roast the bright red cardamom pods. After trekking through terraced rice fields and cloud-draped forests, slurp down a steaming bowl of pho and soak in the cardamom-infused herbal bath in a village guest house. That sounds amazing. Oh, how gorgeous. Number 66 is in the Atacama Desert in Chile. Gaze upon the stars. Salt flats, wind-sculpted canyons, geysers, waves of sand dunes, and volcanoes that reach 20,000 feet. The terrain of the Atacama Desert, a 600-mile strip of desert wedged between the Pacific and the Andes, often invites comparisons to other planets. NASA, in fact, tests Mars rovers in this bone-dry environment. So what better spot on Earth to look skyward? The desert's high altitude, lack of light pollution, and dry air make it one of the best places in the world to stargaze. Oh, beautiful. Number 67 is in Bali, Indonesia. Cheer the triumph of good over evil. Every 210 days, Balinese Hindus herald the advent of Galungan, the island's most important religious festival, which marks the victory of Dharma, or virtue, over adharma, or vice. Ancestral spirits are believed to visit Earth during the celebration, and families dress in their finest traditional clothes to welcome them with village processions, evocative dances, and prayers at temples. Look for the stunning penjor, towering bamboo poles adorned with fruit, flowers, and coconut leaves that display offerings and can be found outside every Balinese home. So pretty. Number 68 is in Spain. Walk the Camino de Santiago. There was a time when religious pilgrims walked from all over Europe to Santiago de Compostela in northwest Spain, arriving at the cathedral built in honor of what was believed to be the tomb of the Apostle James. Today, most start the Camino de Santiago, or the Way of St. James, just over the French border in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, making the nearly 500-mile journey in about a month, stopping at night at albergues, hostels for pilgrims placed along the way. Pretty. Where we're going next. Number 69. Discover ancestral Puebloan ruins in Colorado. Glimpse the lives of the ancestral Pueblo people on a ranger-led tour of Cliff Palace, one of the 600 ancient cliff dwellings in the Mesa Verde National Park. Number 70. Experience Victoria Falls in Zambia and Zimbabwe. The UNESCO World Heritage Committee describes the thunderous 300-foot-high, mile-wide falls that span the Zambia-Zimbabwe border as the world's greatest sheet of falling water. Number 71. Be Awed by Kakadu National Park in Australia. A vast, pristine wilderness that has been home to the Aboriginal people for more than 50,000 years, with thousands of ancient rock art paintings to prove it. Kakadu is the down-under version of the Serengeti. Number 72. Climb Virunga Mountains in Central Africa. Scale the 14,787-foot dormant Mount Karsimbi, one of 8 volcanoes that form a chain straddling the borders of Rwanda, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Number 73. Pray in Taizé, France. Founded to provide spiritual solace to Europeans in the wake of World War II, the ecumenical monastic community in Burgundy now focuses on welcoming young Christians for week-long prayer meetings. Number 74. Cruise the Nile in Egypt. From Tutankhamun's tomb in the Valley of the Kings to the recently discovered site dubbed the Lost Golden City of Luxor, a cruise on the Nile is a crash course in Egyptology. Number 75. Retreat to Isla, California. Never heard of this place, even though I live not too far away. Meditate, reflect, or just be at the Big Sur Retreat Center and Educational Institute, established to help seekers explore deeper spiritual possibilities. Maybe I should check it out. And speaking of, we're on to the soul category. And number 76 is in Northern California. Volunteer among giants. Visiting the redwoods is inspiring, but helping to take care of them can be profound. From roving park trails to answering visitor questions to participating in field studies, opportunities abound to volunteer in Redwood National and State Parks, a swath of woodland in northwestern California that encompasses about half the remaining old-growth redwoods in the state, including 40 miles of rugged coastline. That sounds like a good idea. I should look into that. Those trees are so beautiful. Number 77, with the sweets over here. Precious. and Cameroon save the Cross River gorillas. Threatened by commercial logging, encroaching farms, and hunting and trapping in their southwestern Cameroon habitat, the Cross River gorilla population has dwindled to 300 at the most and may be extinct within the next decade. Travel to the biodiverse Lebialem Highlands near the Nigerian border to assist conservation staff in surveying, monitoring, and spreading the word on the plight of these magnificent apes, as well as their primate cousin, the endangered Nigeria-Cameroon chimpanzee. Verse 78 is in Costa Rica. Rescue sea turtles. Oh, that's what that is. It's a sweet turtle. Commercial fishing, coastal development, humans harvesting eggs, marine debris, oil spills. The threats to sea turtles are staggering. Only an estimated 1 in 1,000 to 10,000 survives to adulthood, which is why conservationists around the world depend on volunteers to give these primordial creatures the best shot possible. Help conduct nightly patrols along the black sand beaches of Tortuguero National Park on Costa Rica's Caribbean coast, one of the most important nesting sites in the Western Hemisphere. They've got a baby right there, measuring it. Oh, cute. Verse 79 is in Victoria in Australia. Track koalas in the bush. All of these sound incredible. I want to do all of these activities. I want to go help all these animals and trees and things. Known for its spectacularly scenic Great Ocean Walk, the Great Otway National Park southwest of Melbourne is also prime koala country. Oz's iconic animals are abundant in this area, but loss of habitat has pushed them into smaller spaces, leading to dangerous overgrazing of the native tree species they need to survive. Help scientists to gather data on koala behavior and ultimately protect them by tracking the furry marsupials and measuring the health of the forest. What's next? I like this chapter the best. Oh, gorgeous. Awesome. Number 80 is in Plettenberg Bay, South Africa. Help conserve marine life. Located between Cape Town and Port Elizabeth on the Western Cape, Plettenberg Bay, or Pled, is known for its broad, beautiful beaches, sweet surf breaks, and amazingly diverse marine life, starring bottlenose dolphins, humpback whales, southern right whales, and great white sharks. Help conserve these and other creatures and their ecosystem by fish tagging, fin profiling, and removing alien species with Ocean Research Conservation Africa, or ORCA. Founded by two friends who were prodded into action by the overfishing of silverfish, a staple of the dolphin diet. How cute. Number 81 is conserve the coral reefs in Mauritius. Deforestation and development have harmed Mauritius's lagoons and reefs. Volunteers can help perform community outreach, manage marine parks, and survey lagoon ecosystems. Number 82. Volunteer at the Cheetah Conservation Fund in Namibia. Whether you're collecting scat or entering data, being a working guest at the CCF in Otjiwarongo, Namibia isn't glamorous, but it's critical to saving Africa's most endangered cat. Number 83. Monitor whale sharks in Baja California, Mexico. Help monitor the world's biggest fish in the Gulf of California, a biodiversity hotspot, and one of the few places on Earth where the genial giants congregate in such large numbers. Number 84. Advanced science in the Galapagos Islands of Ecuador. From observing the behavior of invasive species to writing grants to fund scientific research, opportunities abound to help conserve the living laboratory that inspired Darwin's theory of evolution. Number 85. Study climate change in Andorra. while hiking in the picturesque Pyrenees. Help researchers set camera traps, tag birds, and measure small mammals to assess how warming temperatures affect alpine regions. Number 86, track hawks in San Francisco, California. Big on birds of prey. Assist the Golden Gate Raptor Observatory in counting, banding, and measuring raptors during their fall migration through the Marin headlands. Might have to look into that. Number 87, research wild horses in Mongolia. Stay in a gare and trek the Mongolian steppes alongside wildlife biologists to collect data on the endangered wild taki, also known as Przewalski's horse. Number 88 is in Ghana. Taking a tour there of this building. Let's rediscover ancestral roots. Millions of people were forcibly taken from Africa and enslaved as part of the transatlantic slave trade, and a major center of this trafficking was the West African nation of Ghana, then known as the Gold Coast by European traders. In 2019, Ghana's Year of Return campaign welcomed all people of the global African diaspora to return to Ghana and learn more about their history. Now, the Beyond the Return project will continue to promote Pan-African heritage and encourage travelers to create memorable experiences in Ghana in the spirit of Sankofa, which means you must reach back to reclaim that which is lost in order to move forward. Wow. Oh, beautiful. Number 89 is in Patagonia in Chile. Restore the trails in Torres del Paine National Park. With its dramatic granite spires, mind-blowing glaciers, and technicolor alpine lakes, Patagonia's Torres del Paine draws a growing number of hikers from around the world every year, especially on its famous W circuit. After years of use, the trails could use some love. Team up with park rangers to repair the eroded sections while savoring the spectacular setting. Cute. Puffies. Number 90 is in Maine. Monitor the puffins. Hunters wiped out the last puffin colony in the Gulf of Maine back in the late 19th century. But the seabirds made a comeback 100 years later, thanks to efforts by the National Audubon Society to transplant them from Newfoundland. Today there are about 1,000 pairs of Atlantic puffins nesting on 5 islands in Maine, but Project Puffin continues. Join scientists on the Maine coast in the summer as they band, feed, and monitor these special seabirds. Oh my gosh, how sweet. Look at the wise man of the forest here. Number 91 is in Borneo, in Indonesia. Rehabilitate primates. Dedicated to the conservation of wild orangutans and their rainforest habitat, Orangutan Foundation International cares for primates that have been freed from captivity in homes, abusive zoos, the black market, and the entertainment industry, and teaches them how to be wild again at its facility in the village of Pasir Panjang near Tanjung Puting National Park. Construction volunteers help build everything from bridges to enclosures to infant orangutan jungle gyms. That sounds wonderful. I would love to do that. Number 92 is in Georgia. Help build the Trans-Caucasian Trail. Northwest Georgia is a forbidding place. The rugged landscape bristles with medieval stone towers and lofty settlements located in the shadows of 15,000-foot peaks. Once infamous for lawlessness, the region is recognized today for its welcoming spirit and spectacular hiking, and an ambitious long-distance trail network ultimately aims to connect Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan along paths that will traverse ancient villages and old-growth forests. Every summer, international volunteers join Georgian crews to clear undergrowth, dig new trails, and paint trailblazes through the dazzling scenery of the Caucasus Mountains. That sounds great too. I really like this section. My favorites. Number 93 is in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Care for elephants. Okay, this is gonna be my favorite one. Asian elephants face many threats, especially loss of habitat due to encroaching development, which can lead to conflict with humans. Today, the wild elephant population in Thailand is estimated at only 3,000 to 4,000. Lend a hand with the least fortunate of these animals at the Elephant Nature Park outside Chiang Mai. As a sanctuary for orphaned and disabled elephants, some of which have been abused as work animals, the center invites visitors to help feed the gentle giants and observe them bathing in the river, as well as assist with general maintenance around the park. Yeah, that's my dream job. Alright, let's see the last ones here. We have Brasov in Romania, and you can teach English in Romania. Spend a week immersed in the medieval town of Brasov in the Transylvanian region, teaching English to underprivileged kids and conversing with locals to improve their language skills. Number 95, restore wetlands in Louisiana. The Lake Pontchartrain Basin is a 10,000 square mile watershed supporting 2.1 million people, but it's under threat due to sewage runoff, loss of fisheries, and algae blooms. Restore local marshes by planting swamp trees and clearing marine debris. Number 96 is support black caiman research in Guyana. After darkness falls, head out in boats on the Rupununi River to assist in data collection and conservation for South America's largest crocodilian species, which was almost hunted to extinction. Number 97, play host at Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming. Volunteer to manage campgrounds and provide educational programs while living among the gushing geysers, hot springs, and megafauna of the United States' first national park. Number 98, clean up beaches in Canada. Join the Great Canadian Shoreline Cleanup and refresh beaches in Newfoundland and Labrador, the province with the longest coastline. Number 99, protect biodiversity in Madagascar. Most of the country's original forest has been decimated by logging, mining, and slash-and-burn farming. Help conserve what's left by monitoring its endangered wildlife, including ring-tailed lemurs. And lastly, number 100, plant coral in the Florida Keys. Experienced divers can help with nursery work, plant coral, and monitor coral health in the Florida Reef Tract, the third largest barrier reef in the world. Those do sound like very life-changing places, don't they? This is in Georgia, the Caucasus. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for watching. I do hope that you found this video relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a very good night.